Recording in progress. Hello, everyone. I'm getting everyone checked in to do what they need to do. So let me just say hello. This is Lynn Hamilton, your lead instructor here at Samson Properties. Yes, with cobwebs behind me. But notice I did not cover up my little cardinal because if you know, you know. You know, you know. All right. So anyway, in this session today, we are going to be talking about the key talking points in your buyer and your seller consultations that you should not ever skim over, pass over. They're the top takeaways. So if you want to take some notes, I'll try to identify, obviously very clearly for you, which topics those are so you can jot down what you need to as we go along. So with that, we're going to start by talking about the buyer consultation first. Now, here's my flat out do or die. Everybody needs to be doing a buyer or a seller, whichever applies, consultation every single time you are working with a buyer or a seller. Why? The purpose of the buyer and the seller consultation is to serve as an interview. You are interviewing them, they are interviewing you. You are able to decide if you guys are a good match to work together or not. Because yes, you can fire a client before you ever hire them. I know as brand new agents, you're like, oh my God, I could never do that. Yeah, you can. And it's very freeing when you get to a point that you do need to fire a client. So maybe at the end, if I remember, I will, we can chat about a couple of things that would be grounds for you to fire a client. Kevin, remind me of that when we get to the end, because I'm going to tap into your wisdom as well. So the purpose of the buyer consultation and the seller is for the interview process. It is to make sure you are good to work together. But more important, your job is, and it's getting it. This is written right on our buyer consultation that I teach to. It is to help them understand how the business of real estate now works. They may have bought in a couple of years ago. Is the market the same now as it was then? No. Have things changed? Yes. Your job as an agent is not to grab a warm body and run out to show homes. Your job is to make sure they understand how the business of real estate now works. This is where you become their advocate and their consultant. And the PPS. And if you've listened to Jumpstart, you've heard me say that multiple times. And I used to have that on my business card, my name tag, my email signature, you name it, everywhere. I am your advocate, your consultant, yes, your realtor, and your PPS. Now, PPS stands for Professional Problem Solver, which is what we do. We solve the problems that pop up in the real estate world. So on the buyer consultation, yes, you always want to do it, because here's where I start this training when I do the full class on your buyer and your seller consultations. Everybody is a mix of 4 personalities types. They're either the D, the I, the S, or the C. D is the very demanding, very dominating. The I is the very influential. The S is the very compliant and steady, and S is very steady. Now, you do not know what your client is. You barely know what you are, unless you've taken a DISC assessment. And yes, we have a class on that. But you need to understand that there's 4 personality styles and 3 learning styles. Within your learning styles are they're either visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Visual, they need to see, which is why there needs to be a printout booklet that you give to them. They're auditory. They're going to need to hear parts of it. And kinesthetic, means they need their hands on it as well. So because you do not know what they are, you run the risk of bringing to the table the wrong information at the right or wrong time. So this is why that's kind of the starting point. Now, what you're seeing hopefully on my screen as well is the version of a buyer's guide that I've done, developed over years, used it for years, adjusted it as market shifts. It is available. If you want this version of it, just ask me and I'll send it over to you in a Word document. That way you can customize it yourself. There are others that are also available through Samson Universe or on Samson Resource. They're great as well. But I want you to understand, regardless of which one you use, I want you to be crystal clear on the key talking points and the key components of it. All right. So obviously we have a disclaimer on there that says the information is deemed correct, but not guaranteed, yada, 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 yada. That's just a little CYA policy. We talk a little bit about where Samson is located in their various footprints. Now, this is a just touch and go page because not everybody wants all the details. You do not sit there and read this to them. So we're going to call this one page 2, touch and go. All right, next page down is just for bragging purposes. It's a touch and go. It's letting them visually see that Samson is ranked #1 in the DMV footprint, and the scorecard, if you will, that shows how our numbers align up. That's why I like that in there. Again, it's hitting the visual. It's just a quick, hey, this just gives us bragging rights. We're very proud of our footprint and the fact that we are #1 in the DMV footprint. Okay, that's all you need. If they're interested, they will come back and take a deeper dive or look into it. Okay, again, touch and go. Next page down, let me introduce myself. Now, if you've known them, if they're family, touch and go. But you would just say, oh, wait, let me introduce myself. Oh, forget it. You already know who I am. But if you wanted to see more, there you go. If it is someone that you've not met, again, do not read this to them because you're going to leave this with them so they can come back if they're interested to find out more. Now, here's the testimonials or references, what others have had to say about working with me. Have a 1 or 2 on there. What I would also encourage you to do is, again, this is covered in Jumpstart Session 1, is how to create a QR code that you can put your photo in the middle of it and color gradiate it to whatever color branding you are working with. So, I mean, Kevin's got blue and green, so he could generate his blue and green. If you're red, you can do it all red or generate it. I mean, you got lots of options, but QR Code Monkey is my favorite. It is free. It is easy. We introduce it to you in Jumpstart Session 1, and we even have a how-to video that walks you through how to create a QR code using QR Code Monkey that sits on my website under the Agent Resource tab under How-To Instructions. Can't get any simpler. What I would ask them to do is, if they are interested in seeing what others have had to say, here's 1 or 2, and then if they want more, they can scan the QR code, which will take them to your website, the testimonial page, where they can see more. That's all you need to hit. Next one down is real estate brokerage. Again, kind of a touch and go. There are several types of what we call agency relationship. When you hire me as your buyer's agent, that is what our business relationship would be branded as. Okay. And if you'll notice on this one, the buyer agency is bigger font, but in the seller one, the seller font is bigger. Again, just a quick touch and go. How does compensation work for the best in the best real estate practice, this is one where I want you to stop. It is your job to explain how the business of real estate works. It is your job to address this right up front. It is your job to know and pay attention to that fabulous email that you get every week from Cardinal Title Group with the contract trends. If you are not aware of that, you need to pay attention to it. And wait, yes, I have even done a training component, and I do it a lot at HQDUs, and I did one through one of these sessions, and it is recorded, available for you. And I'll make sure, because we're redoing the page a little bit, but on the Listen and Learn channel as well. It's how to take the information that's in the contract trends and communicate that to your client. Now, why is that important? On this page, particularly, when you're going to be discussing compensation, remember, you are not discussing your commission. Your commission is negotiated with your broker. The compensation to the brokerage, you are the representative discussing that with the client. Now, in the contract trends, one of the last components that shows up is how the compensation, how it's breaking down. The takeaway on that is, and I will state this, 95 to 100% of contracts that are reviewed and then they're calculated for the last several months have all been offering compensation, either a 2, 2.5, or 3%. Now, when you are communicating this to your client, this is where you will ask, okay, Mr. Buyer or Ms. Buyer, whoever you're dealing with, there are several ways in which this can now be handled. One is it is covered and paid for, or it is covered by you. And if they look at you with their eyes popping out of their head, you know that that is not an option. And then you ask, is that even an option? And if they're going to tell you, no, I don't have that extra, I'm doing everything I've got to get, for down in the movie, say, great. Because guess what? I know for a fact, based off contract trends that I monitor every week for the last several months, we are finding that when the buyer's side asks for compensation to be covered from the seller, it is being approved. And if you need to listen to the replay of this, I'll have it posted within 30 minutes after we get done. But again, so here's your options. Either A, the buyer pays for it or covers it. 2, based off what I monitor for contract trends, we are seeing for the last several months, the majority of buyers are asking for assistance and getting it. So that is your second option. Now, worst case scenario, the seller says, no way, Jose. We're not seeing that. I know everybody got all shook up and all, uptight that, oh my God, my buyers aren't going to be able to buy, and settle down. Just take a deep breath and settle down, because that is not what we are seeing is actually happening. We are seeing that the majority of buyers that ask for assistance to cover that are getting it. That's where knowing and looking at those contract trends is going to help. So with that, you just move forward now that they understand that. And again, if they tell you, I don't have it, not a problem, because there's other options. We'll ask for it from the other side. And what we're seeing is 95 to 100% of them are agreeing to cover compensation. So that is not going to be a stopping point or a sticking point or a roadblock or anything else. So there you go. All right. So moving right along. In the buyer consultation, again, if you don't like any of these pages, you can certainly, delete them out, but make sure that that over the compensation is a number one talking point. Next down, again, because of the change a few months ago, we actually included this right in to the buyer consultation regarding having a buyer broker agreement signed. It's an employment agreement because you, Mr. Buyer, are not going to go to work for a company without having a signed agreement on the table. And real estate, again, is no difference. All right. Hit and go. Next one down, my promise to you. This is where you really get to pause for a moment and highlight what you are bringing to the table as well. I'm going to serve as your advocate, your consultant, your realtor, and your PPS. And then again, you should be able to read these upside down. If you want to adjust these any, knock yourself out. But what I always did was I typed my name in on the bottom, and then in front of them, I would pull it back and sign it in front of them. As I handed it back to them, I would say, may I have your permission to be blunt and honest with you? I want to tell you what you need to know and not always what you want to know or want to hear. Are you okay with that? And they're like, yeah, sure. Say, okay, great. Because when that day comes, I'm going to remind you, you gave me permission. Giggle and you move right on. What you're looking for in a client. Again, I would highlight 2 or 3 of these things. It's just a quick hit, go, do not read it to them, but it lets them see what you are looking for in an agent or in a client, which also shows that you have expectations of them as well, because it is a partnership. Again, adjust as you want and as you see fit on that page. But again, the visual of the photo at the bottom kind of locks it in and secures as well. Now, here's another page coming up next is when you hire me, you hire the team. I would make sure that this is a stop and pause for a moment. This is, again, where you get to sell your value loud and clear. I would say, and we use the example of taking a flight across country. When you take a flight, or have you ever taken a flight, there are several people that are involved. There's the pilot, there's the co-pilot, there's the safety crew, there's the baggage handlers, there's the one that makes sure the plane is fueled, they make sure that supplies are stocked. All of those things happen behind the scenes, and you may never see it, but you just know that it's gotten done. The same thing applies to a real estate transaction. We have lenders and titles and settlement and inspectors and transaction coordinators and other service providers and the appraisals that all have a role to play, but you may or may not always see the people involved. Again, you've given them a visual to connect to. This is a stop and go through page so that you are really selling the value that you bring to the table as well. Now, the next paragraph on here, again, this is a hard stop. Read it to them, because here's why. If they by chance are thinking, well, if I got to pay, can I do this myself? When you hit them with this and this page, they now realize, maybe I don't want to do it myself after all. So this is a bam, 1-2 punch page as well. Again, you're educating them on how the business of real estate works. You are educating them about what goes on behind the scenes and why you earn the compensation that you get. So during the trip or during the transaction, we actually oversee 70 to 100 pieces of paper, including contracts, disclosures, reports, communications, all which require signatures or initials, in addition to 100 to 150 phone calls, text messages, or emails, loaded with critical details and information that need attention, plus a detailed timeline that must be monitored and observed. Now, if by chance they were thinking, oh, I could do this myself, they just looked at that and heard that, saw it, heard it, and went, yeah, no, I ain't doing this myself. So do not underestimate the value and the 1-2 punch that comes on this page and that paragraph. Okay. Now, take a deep breath. Moving on is reasons for buying a home. There's a lot of different reasons people buy homes, but let me ask you, Mr. Buyer, what is your reason for wanting to buy right now? Again, you don't need to read this other stuff to them, but you do need to hit them with the question that's at the end because you want to keep them engaged with you as well. Next page down. This is the stop and go over page, the action plan. This is where you absolutely get to knock it out of the park and sell the value that you bring to the table. Again, look this over, adjust it based off your footprint. Let them, and what this tells them is you have a system and a plan in place. All 4 of your personality styles have a certain amount of detail and organization to them. They want to know that you are not going to be running them around on a wild goose chase, that you have a system in place that is going to guide them, which relates to and translates to you are respecting their time as well. Because the last thing that 2 of those personality styles want is to be taken advantage of. So by hitting this page, that is the message that's being conveyed to the client. So again, go through it, and I like to say, we're going to explore your wants and needs here in a second. We're going to need you to meet with a lender to find out what your purchasing power is. I will survey the inventory to find out what's available in your price point. I will think outside the box, which means I'm going to go I'm not going to rely, I don't rely just on the MLS. I've got other tools up my sleeve and I'm going to use everything. We're going to go, whenever possible, I will preview homes because you're at work. I know that sometimes creative photography is not a real reflection of what the property looks like. So if I'm able to do that ahead of time, then I can kick out the ones that absolutely do not meet your criteria, but the description or the photos may have led us to believe it did. Then we're going to go out and go shopping. My job is to watch you. Well, you will take a look at the house. My job is to tap into your reactions because I'll know when we're hitting the mark. Once we find we're ready to buy, we're going to write an offer, blah, 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 blah. And again, you just highlight real quick these things. And as you can see, there's a lot of additional things that then start happening. Okay. Don't spend a lot of time on the down, the tail end of the transaction, because all their brain is needing to focus on is what's right now in the first block. Okay. All right. If you need to have this conversation, don't let the interest rate scare you. This is where in 30 seconds or less, you look at them, have the communication, and here's the takeaway. Don't let the interest rate scare you. You find the house, you marry the house and date the rate, as that old saying goes, because if rates do drop or drop substantially, you will do what me and everybody else has done, and that's refinance. Because when you look at interest rates on a 30 to 50 year average, they are between 5 and 10%. Where are we now? Right in the middle. So we're not going to see that 2% again, but let's hope we don't see the 15 to 20% either. It puts it into perspective and it lets them see that you know what the market is doing and is able to do. Again, you're just going to hit this next one real quick is when we start, we need to make sure that we have a ready, willing, and able. Able means that you have been pre-qualified and we know that what your purchasing power is. We do not want to put the cart before the horse. Again, it's just a great talking point. Selecting a lender. You should have 1, 2, or 3 possible lenders listed in here that you prefer to direct them to. Never have just one, because if they opt to go with them and there's a problem that can bounce back on you, can be a little more awkward. This next page, again, is just a hit and move on, because you do not need to read this through to them. You are basically just showing them These are things that you will need to have at the ready when you get ready to go and prepare to go talk to a lender. These are things that they're going to need immediately so they can do their job as well. Okay. Just reference that page. This page that's next, this is a stop. This is one of those do or die. 8 things that you will not do during the loan process. Now, this is where I throw in some comedy in there a little bit, because when I go through this with you, Mr. Buyer, I'm going to make you sign it in blood at the end. And here's why. Always be able to say, here's why. You're educating them. You're not going to quit a job. You're not going to co-sign for anything. You're not going to buy a new car. You're not going to buy a new truck. You're not going to buy a new boat and then the truck to pull it. You're not going to make any large purchases like furniture. You're not going to open new accounts. You're not going to stop paying for things. You're not going to file bankruptcy. And you're not going to, talk to your mechanic, about advice as well. Nor are you going to take advice from the mechanic on payments or on rates. So you will talk to the lender and get the industry experts. Now, the reason that I'm going to make you sign this in blood, sir, is once we start the process and you are approved, they're going to be checking your credit once or twice more before they come to actually push the button to fund the loan. If anything is off or has changed, you last minute run the risk of not being able to purchase that property. If that happens based off shenanigans that you've pulled, you are not only at risk of losing your earnest money deposit, but you are potentially putting yourself at risk to be sued. I do not want that to happen. Therefore, when it comes to this stuff that you will not do, I am as serious as a heart attack. We good? We good, good. Sign it in blood for me. And they will usually have a giggle. That was when I would pull out my red pen and I would hand it to them. I'll say, okay, so not in blood, but you sign it in red. I don't care if they put a smiley face on there, and I would tell them, I don't care if you put a smiley face on there, a star or heart, whatever, just initial it that you got my point on that one. Because again, why? Your job is to educate them on how the process works. And we have seen it done over the years. Where, oh, well, I got approved. Well, they're good. Okay. And then they find the house and they go out and buy furniture. Well, there's a 3-car garage and they're by the lake. So they're going to get a boat and then they're going to get a truck to go. Yeah, no. All of that stuff has to wait until after they have purchased the house. And you can even tell them the fun story is if that happens, I hope you like the truck or the car that you just bought because you're going to be living in it. And that gives them the giggle. Okay. All right. So that is a stop in your tracks. Make sure you cover that page with them. The next page is who's cover which expenses. Again, depending on where you are at and which footprint you work in, some of this stuff will or will not necessarily apply. Make sure if you're doing downtown DC condos, you're not going to have a well inspection. So again, you can leave it on there if you want, because what this shows is this gives the visual. The other part of the reason of a buyer and a seller consultation is to overcome any objections they have before it ever comes out of their mouth. We have heard, which is why this then got put in there. Well, why do I have to cover everything? No, you don't. This lets them see visually, even if they don't read it, it sees the bullet points down. The buyer and the seller both have what we call skin in the game. The buyer and the seller side both have financial obligations in making sure the transaction comes to the end. So this visually lets them see, oh yeah, there's both sides have got. So again, that's just a quick download. If they're interested, they'll come back and read it later. Funds and reserves that are needed. This is just a quick, generic overview. Please look at the price point on some of these things. Make sure that if it's more or less in your footprint, you adjust as need be. Let them know, like the home inspection, that is a guesstimation range. Home inspections are based off square footage of the property. Again, you're educating them because they don't know. Because if you just leave it at that and say 300 to 1,000, they're going to come back and say, oh, I want the $300 one. That's not how it works. Use this as a quick talking point to educate the consumer. So there's not a problem at the tail end. And again, adjust it based off your footprint of what may or may not be being needed. All right. Moving right along the search. Again, this is where you stop. This is where you get to shine on the buyer side, because you are going to review this and know that you not only have the MLS to look at, but you think outside the box. You're going to network with other agents and the other agents at Samson's. If there's any for sale by owners, you will reach out to them and you will preview when possible. So you are showing them that there is more than just looking something up online and going out and running. Here's where we, again, are going to educate them. And I would say this is where I get to educate you on don't go alone. You'll always want to have my business card with you. I can staple it to your forehead if you want. So if you happen to go to an open house, the first thing out of your mouth should be, I've got an agent that I'm working with, and you hand them my card. If it's new home construction, I must go with you to sign you in. If it's a for sale by owner that you see out there, and there's a number on the sign, let me know, because I have key questions that I need to ask that seller before we even go take a look at the property. Okay. So I know what to ask. You don't, but make sure that you've got my business cards with you at all time. I'm going to give you a couple, leave them in the car, whatever. And so again, you're educating the consumer. Quick reality check. At some point, we may need to have a reality check. Remember, my job is to be your advocate, your consultant, and your realtor. If we get into a point that what you're wanting is not in a price point that even exists, we're going to have a heart to heart. So just touch that and move on. This is where, again, you get to pause for a moment and have a conversation with them. So this is an absolute must touch base on. What are your wants? What are your nice to haves? What area are you looking? And then here's the other key questions to ask as well. The one that I loved was, how would you rate your handyman skills on a scale of 1 to 10? It would usually get a giggle, and I'd say, okay, fine, let me explain it this way. If I gave you a hammer, a screwdriver, a nail, and a screw, would you know which one went with which? And they would usually giggle. Now, sometimes I found out they didn't have a clue if you plug the hammer in or not. But if they don't know how to use the hammer, the nail's no good. I would ask, and the one time I got back the most amazing answer, they giggled. It was a young couple, and they said, yeah, their brother, their dads, everybody in the family was in some sort of construction, whether it was electrical, plumbing, framing, kitchen, bathroom, remodeling, whatever. On, and a roofer in the house, in the family as well. I went, holy smoke. So what that told me, and I asked, I didn't assume, I asked, if you find a place that is, I'm going to say, the worst house in the best neighborhood, do you have the family support to help get the upgrades done? Oh, yeah, absolutely. They've already said. Now I know. And in one case specifically that jumps out at me, that paid off big time. We were able to find a little bit, it was livable, but it could use some TLC in a really nice neighborhood. And because they had the manpower and the skills, they were able to bring it up and got a really good property. So again, that's why this page, whether you're doing it over the phone, whether you're doing it by Zoom, whether you're whatever, this is do not pass that one over page. All right. Property preview. I would just share this with them real quick. When I go out and preview properties, here's the scorecard where I'm going to do. But when we go out, this is the scorecard we're going to use, because again, it's going to help you track what they liked, what they didn't like. And then the key questions at the bottom of if total rating 1 is no way am I writing an offer, a 10 being yes, we're writing an offer right now, stop what you're doing, stop the car, Lynn. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this property? If they give it a 1, 2, 3, or 4, my question to them is, okay, where did I miss? Where did I go wrong? Because I went based off what you told me, but if you're giving it that low of a score, I missed something. What was it? They'll tell you. If it's a 5, 6, or 7, we're close. What did it not have that would have been a game changer for you? They'll tell you. If it's an 8, 9, or 10, we're going to have a conversation of, are we writing an offer? Okay, that is why that becomes so important off that page as well. Moving to the next couple of pages on the buyer consultation side is my job to protect your funds is non-negotiable. I have horror stories that will scare you and keep you up at night about clients who have gotten a hacked email. They thought it was legit and wired money in, and it was not to where it needed to go. So we're going to have this discussion, this reminder a couple of times during the transaction. Before, do not wire anything to anybody or give a credit card over the phone to anybody until we make sure that it is in fact who it needs to go to. All right. So we've got systems in place. The title company that we prefer to use is very alert and untuned to the fraud that's out there. They have classes on it all the time. Every time there's a new something pops up, they're in it. But this is going, these two, Cardinal Title Group is going to be my recommendation because, again, I know that there's built-in security for you as well. But again, we want to make sure that you are aware, because that's my job, is to educate you on how the business of real estate works. Fraud is god awful. All right. You pretty much hit it. So you're going to go through, hey, this is for you to review at your leisure about terms that are, any industry has their verbiage and their terms. That's just for fun. So we come to this point now. What is our next step? So Mr. Buyer, let me just say that I think we could work well together. Do you agree? And you're already starting to shake your head, and they'll probably say yes. Great. Our next step is I need to get the signature to authorize me to start working on your behalf. That, my friends, is your buyer broker agreement. Because nobody is going to take a job unless they know they've officially been hired to do so. From there, your next step is I'm going to ask you to pull together the information that's referenced back on this other page and contact a lender. We need to find out what your purchasing power is. While you are doing that, I am going to be looking on the MLS to see what's available in the areas you've asked for based off of the criteria that you've asked for. But until I find out what your purchasing power is from a qualified lender, my hands are tied. I can only do so much. So from there, you're ready to go. So again, when it comes to the first step is I need your authorization, a signature, which will authorize me to start working on your behalf. Here's the form that is needed. I would have that with you either digitally on your computer and ready to go, or I would have it in print form to get a wet signature on it if you're meeting with them in person. Do not ever leave it with, oh, I'll send you over some stuff. Yeah, no. Because if they go and tell their friends, oh, I'm so excited, I met with an agent, I'm going to look into buying a house, and I go, oh, no, wait. My friend's dog just got a real estate license and the dog really needs a transaction. So why don't you use them? Okay. The problem with that is you just lost that potential client because you left them hanging and dangling. So get the signature on there sooner than later. Make sense? Say yes. Shake your head this way. That way, when it falls off, y'all can catch it. Okay, good. All right. So those are the key takeaway pages on a buyer consultation. Let me clear my screen behind the scenes real quick. And I am going to bring up the seller consultation. And again, that goes real quick because we've already hit several of the key pages as we went through the buyer side. So let me get to this. Here we go. And here we go. And here we go. Now, let me go ahead and come back and do a screen share with you. All right. Up on my screen, I have the seller guide. Again, there are several different options that are out there. If you are using a different seller consultation than this one, I still want you to note what is the key takeaway pages in whichever one you're using. That is your absolute must stop and hit. Again, it says right on there, it's helping them understand how the business of real estate works. Whenever possible, I like to put a picture of their property on the front of the consultation, obviously their name and address, my information on there as well. I always kept at least one buyer and seller consultation generic in my file in case I needed to grab and go. And yes, I've gotten those calls. Something's changed, they need to sell. All right, so the next page over is about where our various offices are located at. Again, this is just a quick mention. If you have an outside picture of your office and want to include it in there, great. If not, some offices are main floor and it's a great photo to add in there. If not, it's okay. Not a big deal. Next page over is our bragging rights. We're very proud of the fact that Samson Properties is #1 in the DMV. Shows you some stats. You just keep going. Allow me to introduce myself. Oh, wait, you don't need to. You already know me, but here's my, quick bio if they're interested. Again, the testimonial. If you would like to hear what others have had to say about working with me, when you scan this QR code, it's going to take you to my website, to my testimonial page, where you can read what others have had to say. Boom, moving right along. Business, real estate, brokerage relationship. Once again, there are several types of relationships in the real estate industry. When you hire me, I will be serving as the seller's agent. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. Move right along. My promise to you, like we talked about on the buyer's side, same thing with the let me share with you what I'm looking for in a client. Again, adjust that as you want, but again, it's showing that you are setting expectations, that you know what you are wanting and wanting them to be aware of, and that you have expectations. Again, if you've ever taken a flight, there's a lot of people behind the scenes. This is, again, a stop moment. And this is where you get to really sell your value as well. And again, we reference that there's overseeing of 70 to 100 pieces of paper, blah, blah, blah. And again, read that to them. You should have a copy in front of you so you can read it just blah, 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 as well, unless you've got a good memory and want to memorize it. But it lets them see there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and that you will be taking care of that, which is also too why you earn your keep. So you're going to ask them their reasons for selling. What's their timeline? Where they're going to be moving to? Do they need help to find another agent in the other area? Yes, no. Again, you're jotting down that information as you are asking those questions to them. This is where you then would go into, let's take a look at what is currently going on in the market in this footprint. Now, you can have a separate piece of paper with what is active, pending, and sold. I don't care, what you pull, what you get, or, again, this is where you would introduce them to what's going on out there. This is also too where the contract trends email that you get that's broken down per area will come to your advantage, because you can say, I do monitor contract trends behind the scenes, and what I'm seeing is, you can even have a printout of that sucker if you want and show them. In this footprint, this is what the time on the market is. As again, it's reflected here as well from the MLS of what is currently active, pending, and sold, how long it had been on the market. Again, this is where you have that conversation. So do not drop the ball on that one. Okay, that's where you're starting to sell your value as well. The next couple of bullet points are, again, I'm just going to highlight some highlights for you, Mr. Buyer, but this is important for you to know. A property's value is determined by today's market, not what it was 30 days ago, 60 days, 90 days ago, or in the past. How many competing properties are available financing, blah, 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 blah. So I do take a moment to go through there. Property's value is not determined by what you're wanting or what you're hoping to get out of it. It's just, the buyer side always said it. Do not let, and again, this is overcoming their objection before it comes out of their mouth. And you are setting the stage that you are the expert here, not them. All right. So as you move right along, factors that don't affect a value of a property. As you can see, there are several right there. Again, you don't necessarily need to go through them, but if you do need to say it, you would say what you paid, what you need, what you want, what neighbors have said, another associate said, cost to rebuild, or what you spend on repairs. Those do not automatically affect the value of a property. This is where the fruit bowl comes in. And again, if you have not experienced that class yet, we do have it available on my Listen and Learn page, is to how to do a CMA using the fruit bowl. There's the fruit bowl, because again, you want to show them that you've already done some homework and you've compared an apple to an apple. They're going to have gone, well, Zillow said, oh, so you did the homework, so did I. And this shuts them right down because you're able to show that you have done your homework. You are the pro. You know what's going on in the market. You're the one that's monitoring numbers and stats, and this shuts them right on down. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So there you go. Learn how to use that page as well. Next page over is this is where you get to stop and sell your value. This is if you kind of send it to them and you just need to cut to the chase, here's one of those pages. You will stop and cut to the chase. This is where you get to let them know that you are going to customize a marketing strategy for their property, because each property is marketed slightly different based on where the buyers and the buyer pool is at. In other words, Mr. Buyer, I would market a $300,000 condo a little bit different than a $800,000 or $900,000 property. It's a different buying pool. I need to analyze where the buyers are going to come from for your property. You really want to razzle dazzle them? This is a technique that we shared in the For Sale by Owner class. You have whatever price point it is. You ask your lender at $300,000 price point, what is the income and the FICO score that buyer for this price point is going to need in order to qualify. So they've told you. Real easy calculation. It's 1/3. Their salary needs to be 1/3 of the sales price. So if it's a $300,000, they need to have $100,000 income. So you want to razzle and dazzle them? This is where you would say, okay, Mr. Buyer, as I create my customized marketing strategy for your property, the buying pool is currently with $100,000 a year income to qualify for this purchase price, and their FICO score is 620 and above. And they're going to look at you and go, how'd you know that? Because you know your stuff. So learn those little extra, because if they're thinking of doing it themselves, they have no idea where their buyer pool is. And you just razzled them and dazzled them with the, I know. Again, go through this with them. Look at this carefully. Make sure that you are ready, willing, and able to do all of these things within there. Here is one bonus that is even not on this one. You want to impress the heck out of your buyer. You create ahead of time a talking house video. We are just launching this and explaining how to do it. You record the video. It's not your face on there. It is the house. You are making the house talk. You download it. It's about 30 seconds to a minute. You download it, put it in a QR code. You put a QR code right in here and say, oh, Mr. Buyer, do me a favor. Go ahead and pull your phone out real quick. Scan this QR code, because this is something that I only offer to my VIP clients. Scan the QR code and see what happens. They will scan the QR code, and the recording that you have done will say, hi, I'm the house at 123 Cardinal Way. I bet you didn't know houses can talk. Well, I can. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm only 4 years old because I was built in 2021. I have about 1,800 square feet, but I am 3 stories, so the basement footage doesn't count because it's below grade. But I bet you didn't know that either. So I've got 5 bedrooms and 4 baths. If you like to cook, oh my God, you wait till you see my kitchen because it is amazing. So, if you've got dogs, you've got kids, we've got a library, we've got a park, we've got, that whatever around me, you being the house, and you're the one that's giving the little bit of information. So if you think that you would like to have, well, maybe date me, maybe, and come by and see me, please either contact your agent if you're working with one, or contact my best friend, Lynn, whose name and number is on the sign out front. Boom. You just blew them out of the water because nobody else is doing that. But yet our Samson agents are learning how to do it. All right, there you go. Impress the heck out of them. Added value. Again, if the footprint that you are in, if you're here with Samson, yes, our 210 home warranty service does offer a complimentary service during this listing period. Please, agents, reach out to your 210 rep in your footprint. Double check what is covered, double check what is not covered. And I would always at that point say that there's an additional charge that will cover the heating and air conditioning system as a gift to my VIP clients. I will cover that additional charge so that your HVAC unit is covered during the listing period. If they haven't told you to shut up and show them where to sign by now, yeah, they'll probably say, okay, where do I sign? Okay. So you're letting them know what else you're bringing. Again, I just leave this for reference. What is the buyer's market? What is the seller's market? I just leave that for their information. Scoot right along, whatever seller needs to know. Again, just kind of hit that short, sweet, and to the point. How we get compensated there again is where you will stop and have that conversation. That the seller side that on because of the experience and expertise you and your brokerage bring, you are asking 3%, whatever that number is. I don't care. I'm just going to use 3 as the number. 3%. Now, let me share with you, Mr. Seller, more than likely, the buyer side is going to ask for assistance to cover that in terms of their closing cost. You may have heard back in the day that listings were 6% or often at 6%. That's because that was divided between the two sides. Similar, but now just have to be explained a little bit different. So more than likely, a seller is going to come in asking for assistance. And with that, we just want to make sure that you are aware and prepared. But we're going to take a look at it case by case when the offers come in. Just want to give you a heads up. Now, if you want to have the discussion with them of what they would be willing to cover up to, let's say another 3%, that's fine. Now here's where I know I get into a gray area. Some areas require you to disclose what it is you're offering to the seller side, or, excuse me, what your seller is offering to the buyer side. If my area doesn't make that mandatory, I would not do it, and here's why. My job is to represent my seller. My job is to protect my seller. So if somebody's coming in and is only going to ask for 2%, I'm not going to tell them my seller was willing to pay 3%. So I would go back to my seller when the offer came in and said, oh, by the way, remember when we talked, you said you would be open to offering up to 3% towards the buyer side. I hope you don't mind. I may have just saved you $7,420 because they've just asked for 2%. Are you okay with that? Yeah, the best thing since sliced bread that's just happened. Okay. So that's how that plays out. Again, protecting funds is non-negotiable. And yes, scammers have tapped in at the close or just prior to a close and have redirected a seller's funds into a fraud account. So this applies on both sides. So we're going to make sure that we're protecting your stuff as well. When you get a chance, I'm going to ask you to fill out what is your home's greatest assets, because this may give me some additional talking points or marketing points as we move forward. As you're preparing your home for sale, these are extra things that we're going to ask you to pull and have available for us. You don't need to go through them now because they're not ready now, but let them know that that will be one of their top things. We've also offered as a courtesy some tips for the sellers to make a good first impression with their property. And there you go. We talk about briefly who covers which expenses. Again, you can put this stuff in any order you want. Because we just want to make sure that you understand that both sides have financial skin in the game. It's not all coming from one side or the other. These are things that a home inspector will probably going to take a look at. So again, just bringing you up to speed on that. All right, Mr. Buyer or Mr. Seller, I'm sorry, do you have any questions about the process, about how I'm going to market your property? Don't ask generic. Do you have any questions, period? Do you have any questions over how I'm going to be marketing your property and identifying your buying pool? Do you have any questions on any of that? Great. All right. So our first step is, your next step is to go ahead and authorize me to list the property and start my marketing efforts. And that is with a signed listing agreement. There you go. Now you're hired and you're off to work. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop the screen share and come back to you face to face. So there you have it. Those are the highlights and the takeaway bullet points on the buyer side and on the seller side. Remember, it's an interview. You're overcoming their objections before they even ask for it. You are determining if you two are going to be a good match or not. You are answering their questions and educating them on how the business of real estate now works. Again, there are several options for a buyer or a seller consultation, whichever platform, whichever design you use. Know what are the key talking pages that must be covered. Now, if you're doing a buyer or seller consultation by Zoom, because they're not, close by or whatever, send this to them. You want them to be able to have it in a PDF, not in a Word document, but in a PDF so they can look at it as well. If you're doing the consultation by Zoom because of weather or distance, make sure they have it with them in front of them as you're going through it page by page. And again, you just quickly highlight some, but dead stop and conversation on those key pages. You're selling your value. And then in closing, you always ask, so do you have any questions regarding X, Y, or Z? Great. I think we could work well together. I would be excited and be happy to help you get ready to move on to your next home. We got to sell this one first. So with that, our next step is, and you will continually walk them through the entire process with our next step is. The value of that is your D, your I, your S, and your C personality styles all want to know there's a checklist in the system. Two of them do not want their time wasted. And if you say, oh gosh, darn, hire me, I'll do a good job for you. Yeah, no, not gonna fly. So this is why I drill this down to such detail so you know what to do. Now, if you came in a few minutes after we got started and you're asking about the one that I use for display here, if you want it, this particular one, email me at lhamilton@samsonproperties.net. And just ask for the buyer and seller consultations. I will send them back to you. It is coming to you in a Word document. You need to know how to customize it with your information in there. Make sure that all pages still line back up again. There are some quick how-tos on my how-to videos as well. If you are tech savvy and want to take the information and convert it over into Canva, I've seen agents who have done some drop dead gorgeous powerhouse professional looking buyer and seller consultations using the same data, just converting it over into Canva with some fancy artwork in there. Your call, your choice. Do not print them on color. No, print them in color, but not on colored paper. You got to realize you will be working with most of your people at the end of a long business day. Their eyeballs are tired. So when you put something on a colored paper, their eyes get tireder and will quit looking after a point in time. So you do want to have, there's a science and logic behind why it's done on white paper. And a picture is there as an accent to tie in to the text, but don't have a whole picture in the background with font on top of it. Their brains will not process it and they will just stop looking at it. Okay. So with that, my friends, that winds up our time. Hopefully you have found this to be helpful. These were, again, the tips and the key points and the takeaway on a buyer and a seller consultation. Kevin, I always like to come to you with, a closing comment. For those that don't know Kevin, he and I go way back to California, actually, and he's now here with Samson as well. And I value his input always. So any words of wisdom for the gang that's on?
That was awesome. And the fact is that most times you don't want them sitting and reading everything with you because you will lose them. They will
Correct.
go over there and just start reading it. And it's like, no, I got this. Don't worry. No, you don't want to do that. But you do definitely want to put the bullet points of what you're going to do for them. When I started in real estate in 79, I did the top 21 things that I'll do for you. It was my best closer. I had it in writing. I signed it in front of them. I had them sign it as well. And then we just pulled out the listing agreement. So you absolutely have that in writing. That's a great presentation, Lynn.
Okay, thank you. And again, this covers both the buyer and the seller side. All right, my friends, that winds down. I know I can talk. I've been talking for the last 3 hours. This winds down this session of your buyer and seller consultation tips and talking points. I will tell you, we were going to break. I'm going to come back at 2:30. We're going to be talking about leveraging the contract trends and the market stats. Ties right into this. So I hope you can come back and join me in 30 minutes. And with that, I will see you soon. All right, my friends, thank you for being with me.
Thank you, Lynn.
See you soon. You bet. Thank you.